Welcome, everyone, to Movies You Missed, our podcast series, which is looking at films that maybe you didn't see, but definitely ones that we didn't. And as always, I am excited to get our team together. Thank you, Kat, Riley, JT, and Daniel, for joining us again for another head-to-head battle of generational supremacy. As we... I don't know how that came out that way, but I'm going to keep it in. If this is your first time watching the podcast, the way it works is simple. Catherine and I picked films that mattered to us that others had not seen from our youth, not after the year 2000, while Riley, JT, and Daniel picked a film that mattered to them that at least one of us, Catherine and I, had not seen that mattered to them in their youth. This week, our theme is youth films, teen films, and let's see what we got. I know our group brought 10 Things I Hate About You. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but Daniel, what is it that you guys brought for us today?
So the teen film that we decided to go with was The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is a film that came out in 2012, I believe. Yeah, 2012. And basically is about Charlie, who is a 15-year-old introvert. He enters high school and is like super nervous about his life. He befriends some seniors. He learns to cope with his friend's suicide and his tumultuous past. So he's kind of dealing with a lot while trying to fit in and just deal with high school life. Super fun. It's not super fun movie. I'm gonna change that. Super.
What are you talking about? This movie was a fun ride.
Especially for Charlie's friend. So Perks is kind of a dark film. It touches upon some heavy topics, and I'm excited to talk about it. I guess maybe we should start off with why we picked this movie, and then we'll see what you guys thought of it after. So Riley, JT, want to start us?
Yeah, I love this movie a lot. I can't even remember the first time that I saw it. I don't know who I was with or anything like that, but I know I've watched it probably 3-4 times since. I really like this movie. It's one of more of this is going to be weird to say considering the matter of the movie, but it's one of my comfort movies that I'll just watch a lot, which is kind of strange due to the fact that it's been suicide a lot, but whatever, moving past. But no, I really, really like this movie, and I don't know, I just love it.
What do you connect with so much about it, Riley? What is it that you love about it?
Well, I mean, all of the mental health stuff, but also I don't know, I really felt kind of drawn to what's the friend's name? Charlie's friend. The guy, not the girl.
The one who killed themselves?
No.
Yeah, they felt drawn to the person that wasn't even in the movie at all.
So great. Nobody.
Yeah, nobody. Patrick. I felt really drawn to Patrick. I really liked his character, and I don't know, I kind of saw traits of myself in him at that time. I don't really know if I still would agree with all of those things that I saw of myself in them, but I don't know. I just really like it a lot.
Well, for me, I kind of just picked it because you guys watched it.
Running theme.
Yeah, I know. I actually don't like this movie.
Okay.
I mean, there's some parts that are good, I think. like like I guess the portrayal of depression was good. I think it was relatively realistic, and then the plot was interesting enough. It is a bit dramatized, and it in moments like that, it makes you really think like how unrealistic it is, and because I don't know, my high school experience wasn't like that at all, and I've only seen that through movies, like that kind of high school experience. But overall, it's okay. Definitely not one of my favorite teen movies. Um,
What would be one of your favorites, JT?
I really like Edge of 17. That's a good one. It's with Haley Steinfeld. I felt like that one had like humor, like everything you wanted, and then like a coming of age story as well. This one had it too in a different way. Um, it's hard to root for some of the characters in this one as well, like the main character and then Patrick. I don't know. It's just okay for me, to be honest.
Not allowed.
I don't have.
Sounds like there's less perks for being a wallflower.
You're not funny.
Oh, I know.
So I really enjoyed this movie as well. In my mind, when I think of uh, teen movies that kind of came out, I guess between like 2010 and 2020, this is definitely like one of the ones at the top of like my personal list of ones that were really good that I really liked. From like the 2000s to 2020s, I'd say it's still pretty like high up there. There are definitely some more like Mean Girls is one of my favorite like teen movies, but couldn't do that one. Um, I like how it was kind of a darker movie and it had darker themes. Because I feel like a lot of teen movies, especially between 2012, 2013 to 2017, 2018, a lot of them had like dark topics and dark themes, but they were all very like bubbly and like weren't realistic. Like it was like, oh, like for example, the movie The Duff. The whole premise is like, oh, somebody in your friend group is the designated ugly fat friend. And like, the main character is the Duff of her friend group. Like that's, a heavy topic. Like, um, you know, being called, ugly, fat, and then having that be like a label in your friend group that the whole friend group knows and people, make fun of you for. Like, and, bullying and all of that. Like that's a heavy topic, but they did it in, you know, a bubbly way, like to kind of like make light of the topic, I think. Which, can be fine, for parts of, a movie, but for the whole thing, it's like, it almost seems like you're making fun of, something being an issue. But I feel like this movie really, like this movie really said, there's suicide. It's going to be sad. There's, the main character has, mental illnesses. I don't know if they specifically said what it is he has, but it's going to be sad. And it was. And I think that they did it in a realistic way. I do feel like there was some points where maybe they kind of like forgot that he, was dealing with mental illness, because I was like, but I guess that's also my kind of perception of it. I was like, I feel like somebody might handle that, this thing differently than, what he would have done. But I guess, everybody's different. So I take that back. But I think they handled the theme of this movie like really well. There was a lot of kind of dark topics that, left me kind of like, whoa, the first time I seen it. I didn't see it in theaters, but I know I seen it not too long after it came out. And I've seen it a few times since. But yeah, I don't know. I just like how kind of, it's realistic in the sense of, you know, they look at mental illness as something that people struggle with, and it's a dark topic, so the movie's going to be dark. Especially when a lot of movies kind of haven't done that. So I really admired the directors and writers for doing that. And the cast was great. Emma Watson, Logan Lerman, Ezra Miller. I think they were all like really good, really well cast. So even just in that, that sense, the movie was done really well. But what about you guys? You newbies, who was it? Was it Kat hadn't seen this one?
Oh, Kat, we're newbies.
Old newbies.
But Obies? Like
OBs, yep. OBGYNs. What did you
I
guys
hadn't seen it either, Steve.
No, I had seen it. I had seen this one.
I'm the only newbie.
Yeah.
That's it.
continue? I hadn't seen it.
Long pause.
Well, then, are we supposed to talk about why you
No.
picked, why we picked ours?
No, we talked about this one first.
We've been doing
okay.
this for like 6 weeks, Kat. Actually longer than that. A lot longer.
He's a newbie.
Okay, let me start again. I really enjoyed this movie. I really liked it. It was on my list of movies to watch and movies that I had missed. So I was really excited to hear that we would be watching it. And I think that it did deliver, in my opinion. I thought it was a good kind of teen movie and not like what Daniel was saying, like making light of the situation and how people handle things differently. Of course, it did have those moments where you're like, okay, I did not have that experience in high school. I was not allowed to go anywhere in high school. So my experience was not the same, but it was in the sense of like having friends dealing with mental health, having friends and like dealing with loss and suicide and stuff like that. So that was, I just really liked it. I really liked everything kind of about it. It's hard to pick it apart, but I think it was a really good pick, and I think it will probably get my vote this week.
Spoilers.
I don't know why. Huh?
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert. I feel like I'm not making sense, but I feel like also it's been so long since we watched it that I'm like trying to pick a part that like really stood out. Yeah. It was really interesting. There's always that like quirky group in school that doesn't really give a crap about what anyone else thinks. And I feel like they were a better group than, say, what's that one movie? Oh, they were like a better quirky group than the quirky group from Mean Girls. I'm thinking teen movies. They seem more believable to me. And they had their own little group and their own little parties and stuff like that. So they didn't need to be on the top of anything. And they were just who they were. Whereas in other teen movies, it seems like they're like the ones trying to get revenge, or they're the ones that are hate all the jocks and hate this. But there was a good mixture of different groups and different people. His dealing with his mental health I felt was pretty good, because it's hard to say. There's so much to do with labelings and like that person has mental health issues, or instead saying that person struggles with mental health issues, because there are days where you feel totally fine, nothing's bothering you, you're in a great mood, and then something can trigger it. A memory, a smell, a song, anything can trigger it, and then it'll put you back right to where you had started. So a lot of teen movies kind of play on the depressed kid and have like the clothing and the makeup and everything like that. But this showed a more realistic, to me, kind of look into depression, PTSD, and how you can have good days, and then other days they're not as good, and other days they're really, really bad. But if you have the support system, which I feel he developed, and was able to do it. I kind of felt sad because he had all these best friends and they were all seniors, so it was like, okay, bye. But I know that he had friendships with people that weren't seniors, so that was good. It was definitely one of those movies that had like a what factor, because I feel like I always try to call what's going to happen. Like, oh yeah, this person does this or that, and it's usually right. But this one with his trauma, I was like, did not see that coming. And I was like, interesting. And then I was trying to think about why I didn't see that coming. You know, was it because he was identifying as a male and his perpetrator was a female, and I just instantly think reverse gender for that, which I know isn't true, and I do this work that I do knowing that that's not true, but for some reason it just didn't connect until it finally did, and then that made everything else make so much more sense. So I definitely would recommend it, and I will probably end up watching it again one day now that I have the information and seeing if I can make any more connections. But it was a really good pick.
Yeah, I like this one. I do. I think the teen movie genre is so interesting, and we've sort of talked about this off camera a little bit here and there. Like, I feel like the last 10 years, but really the first half of that 10 years, there were a lot of films about teens trying to reclaim innocence. And this is one of those films for me. But it's interesting because we'll talk about this a little bit later with ours. The films were different when we were teens. There weren't a lot of the ones like this. And I look at this film, the one knock that I would throw against it, and I think JT is right on this, is that everything happens to everybody in this film. And this is just a nitpick of it. I'm not saying the film is bad, but it feels to me like this is so much more about youth just trying to figure out what it means to be youth in a world that's gone insane. Because you've got everything there from LGBT bullying, you've got suicide, you've got abuse, you've got assault, you've got all of these things that happen in 2 hours. I've joked that that's what in some ways that's what Degrassi does back in when Degrassi does their series, is like, let's get as much things as we can. But to me, the key scene is them in the car in the tunnel. That's the scene that settles the movie for me, because that's the most hopeful scene in the entire film for me. When I feel infinite, and he's standing out there and he's got his arms outstretched or whatever. They're driving through the tunnel and they're blaring the music. It's like this moment of purity at a time when it feels like there just is none in this world, in this film. And this is not the only one. I mean, like, Fault in Our Stars is 2014. Spectacular Now was 2013. And it's interesting, Daniel, that you focus on The Duff, because I would say that the ones that haven't lasted have been things like The Duff, or at the time, what was also coming along was, the Disney machine. Like, when you had films like High School Musical. It's not like you don't have goofy teen movies. High School Musical, Camp Rock, now The Descendants and all this stuff. But it feels like the genre of teen movies for you guys is much more rooted in bigger issues. Even Lady Bird. If you haven't seen have any of you seen Lady Bird?
Yeah.
Oh, JT, you've seen it.
It's really good.
You got to see Lady Bird. That's with Saoirse Ronan, and she's just graduating high school and going to college, if I'm right. She goes to a Catholic school. It's a fascinating film. It's really, really interesting. You've got, and there are other ones too. Booksmart was really big a couple of years ago. 8th Grade was really good. That was who's that guy that you like, Riley?
Burnham.
Burnham. He wrote and directed that. That's a fabulous film.
That one was really good, actually. I really liked it.
Yeah, but again, it's not about. I feel like the genre is less about teens, and I want to hear from you guys and tell me what you think. But I feel like the genre is much more rather than just about, hey, what's it like being a teen in high school, and much more about how do we deal with the fact that the world sucks as teens. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but I actually like that.
Yeah, like coming of age, all that kind of thing. I like it if it's done right. Um, I mean, a lot of them can get like stereotypical now, especially since it's been done so many times.
Mm.
But no, it's. I don't mind it if it's done right. Eighth grade was very different because it was focusing on like new age stuff. Like I think she was on, I think it was TikTok or Instagram.
YouTube. It's YouTube.
Yeah, it's YouTube.
She's a YouTuber.
Yeah, so that's like totally different generation, like whole new factors. So that I really liked. So I guess it just really depends.
I prefer the sort of like dealing with the world going to shit type of teen movie personally, because I kind of find like the other side of teen movies, and I say the other side in sort of these like bubbly kind of movies, I find those a little bit more unrealistic to me. Like I still find them fun to watch, and I find that like they're a lot of fun, but they're not like a movie that you can like really like sit down and like think about or like talk about and like generate like good discussion. I'm not saying you can't talk about the movie, but just like it's not going to be like a conversation that necessarily takes you anywhere. But I find that for me at least, and my experience of like what has happened in the world while I've been in high school, for me the more realistic thing is how do we as teens deal with the fact that the world is screwed up and there's not really a lot that we can do about it, right? And we sort of just have to deal with it, right? So I really like that style of movie, and I'm not like you're not wrong in saying that the movies have shifted, but I'm also saying that like I don't particularly mind it.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I think actually in some ways these films are more similar to the films that were in the '80s. Like people think of The Breakfast Club, and Pretty in Pink, and they think of them as these fun teen romps, but they were very much films about teens trying to figure out who they were in a crappy environment. Even one of my favorites, which was sort of the last one, but Catherine hadn't seen it, so we couldn't even pick it, is Reality Bites. And you probably haven't even heard of it, but Reality Bites had a young Ethan Hawke, young Ben Stiller, Winona Ryder, Janine Garofalo. Like, it's interesting when you get these films with these young casts. Even this one, I mean, you can talk about Emma Watson and Logan Lerman. There's Ezra Miller, sure, but you got Mae Whitman and Nina Dobrev in there as well. But I feel like, going back to what I was saying, I feel like in the 80s there was more of an edge of how do we deal with that. That's really interesting, Riley. That's interesting that you say that. So what do you guys look for in a teen movie?
30-year-olds playing high schoolers.
Yep.
Touche.
Boy, do I have the musical for you.
All of them.
What is it?
High School Musical.
Oh,
The
okay.
later ones.
That one's very realistic. I like that one.
Oh yeah. Teen Beach Movie, anyone?
Yeah.
Lemonade Mouth.
One of the best Saturday Night Live skits in the last like 20 years is when Zac Efron was hosting, and it was supposed to be Troy is coming back to his high school, but he's been to college, and the world doesn't work the way it does in the high school that he grew up in. There was zero choreography, people. Zero. It was really funny. Anyway.
There's no way he would be a good basketball player. In real life, nobody would draft him.
Seen him, he's jacked.
He's tiny, especially in that movie.
In that movie, yes, but now, no.
Yeah, but he still wouldn't be a good basketball player. There's no way any college would want him. I think that's the most unrealistic thing.
I think JT is jealous of his basketball skills.
No, it's his singing voice. That's what it is.
Oh yeah,
Not
he
that
didn't
he
sing
sang
in High
the
School
first
Musical.
movie.
Oh, it wasn't him?
No,
No,
he didn't sing in the first movie at all. He was just voicing over, like lip syncing it.
The
Lame.
big fat faker.
Yeah, so not only can he not play basketball, he also can't sing in the first. So
Fair enough.
Terrible.
But back to
well,
Perks.
he didn't do the singing in the first, but he did it in the second and third movies.
well, yeah, but it's the first one that counts. That's the one that people remember.
And he sang as Lincoln in Hairspray.
And in The Greatest Showman.
I literally heard crickets coming from Daniel.
And back to Perks.
Oh yeah, good movie. Oh, I was gonna say, because Riley had been talking about like it being more that you could watch and it would open up conversation. I think that if you had a teenager in your life that you watch this with, it would be a really good door open to have those deeper conversations about some of the topics. And if you have a young person that you feel is mature enough to watch this movie, it would be a great way to open up those chats about high school and how they're feeling.
So yeah, that's why we went with the movie, and I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it as well, and have honestly pretty kind of similar thoughts with what we have. But I guess
Except
it's
for Big
on.
T.
Oh well, who? No. So what movie did you guys go with for your teen movie?
We brought you the underrated classic 10 Things I Hate About You. From 1999, 10 Things I Hate About You tells the story of high school boy Cameron, who cannot date Bianca until her antisocial older sister Kat has a boyfriend.
I'm pretty sure they use stronger words.
Than antisocial? They did it. They did on a couple of times, yeah.
Her uptight bitch of a sister.
So Cameron pays a mysterious boy Patrick to charm Kat, and romances bloom.
There was Patrick's in both the movies we watched.
They're the same Patrick.
And my brother's name is Patrick. Was he the actor in both of these?
Your name is Kat.
Now it all comes together.
Oh, Alabama.
I love that movie.
Huh?
From Alabama, best romantic comedy.
It isn't, but we didn't have that genre.
You love your siblings.
No.
10 Things I Hate 10 Things I Hate About You stars Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and what is her name? Oh, I can't think of her
Others.
name. No.
Julia Stiles?
And Gabrielle Union.
Yep, that one too.
Actually is adapted by and is actually adapted from Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. So I know that she's going to say it was my pick, but Kat, what was it that you like about 10 Things I Hate About You?
First of all, you don't know what I'm going to say.
You're going to say that because you've said that like twice every time I said.
This one was, but mostly because they'd seen other stuff, like Clueless.
That's why
and
Kat wanted it.
I enjoyed 10 Things I Hate About You. I hadn't watched it many times. I'd seen it before once. And the cast is great. The soundtrack is amazing. And it's just, yeah, it's one of those like pretty like, what are those ones where you like turn the nerdy girl into the prom queen and like she takes her glasses off and turns out she's gorgeous. She just had to take out her ponytail. It's like one of those.
No, it
those.
wasn't.
Daniel, you know what I mean, right?
I know what you mean.
You know those romantic comedies where it's always like, oh, we had a bet to take the ugliest girl to the dance, and you actually were the pretty, that kind of thing.
Oh.
More of the bubblegum romantic comedy with the cookie cutter plot line, but it was weird seeing Heath Ledger, so young too. But I did enjoy it. I think it's a cute movie. I think it's fun. I think, like I said, the soundtrack is awesome. So it's almost like going back in time while you're watching it. And it was a good representation of a lot of the romantic comedies from back in the day. So
yeah,
I'd stamp my approval on it.
Well, I appreciate that. It was very typical for what a 90s teen movie was like. Like,
Yeah.
very, very much so. I think when we were watching it, somebody said this was like the most 90s movie ever, but it wasn't doing so ironically. Like, now if you have a movie that takes place in the 90s, it's so forced. Like Captain Marvel forces all the 90s reference. This was just what it was, what 90s teen movies were like. But I do think it's very interesting that at this time, a lot of these movies were using adapted stories that were quite old. This was not new. I think She's All That is Pygmalion, which is the glasses come off, hottest girl in the at the party sort of thing. This is Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. Clueless was Emma. Clueless was really the one that kicked it off. But there was this whole 5 or 6 years of films that took famous pieces of literature and tried to make them matter today. And I think
Why do you think that was? Because if you were a teenager like myself, that would have never entered my mind. Like, I wouldn't be watching this movie as I was the audience that it was made for and being like, this really reminds me of Pygmalion from like advanced English class. How curious. Like, do you think there was a reason? Was it the director of these movies that was doing that? Or was it just like, hey, let's bring Shakespeare back? Yes, Daniel, you in the back with the raised hand.
I actually think they did that on purpose because teens aren't...
for sure, but why?
Well, because, what way are you going to get teens to be like, oh, Shakespeare, other classical books, put it in a movie? Don't make it too obvious to where people are going to be like, oh, this is just Taming of the Shrew, or oh, this is just Pigzilla, or whatever.
Pigzilla.
One of Sherlock's lesser known things. And I get that. Like, I know it was totally intentional, but unless you put it at the end or the beginning of the movie, like, based on the Shakespeare play, I would just walk away from it thinking that was a good movie. Like, I'm wondering about the thinking behind it. Because it is cool now, like, when you found out, and you were like, what? It was based on that? And then you Google Pygmalion, and you're like, I should read this. And then you never do. Right? So I'm just curious as to, like, what the... Maybe you're right. Maybe it was for parents to say, back in my day, this was a story by Shakespeare, who was not a great person, but...
I think it's more simple than that. I think it's because Clueless made money. I think that's what it is.
You could have made Clueless without the reference back to Shakespeare.
No, well, Clueless was Emma. It was Jane Austen.
Emma.
Yeah, I just don't get it. Like, I understand it, and I see that it's highly popular, but I didn't know the backstory for a bazillion years. Anyways, that's my rambling. I just don't get it.
I mean, maybe they did it in a sense to kind of bring multi-generations to like it. It's going to be flashy and teen-based for the teens, young adults, but then it's also going to have that undertone and that based upon of, older classical books that's going to bring in, some of the older generations that are like, oh, I loved reading Taming of the Shrew. I might as well go see this movie. And then, the older people may come out and be like, what is this garbage, but they still spent money. So
Yeah, it's funny because it really was a thing. Like, even, of course, the one that we didn't mention, which was much more obvious, was Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, which was like, okay, Kat's rolling her eyes.
With
Oh,
Leonardo
that-
DiCaprio?
Yeah, it was a big deal, though.
It was. And it was a massive
Big
movie.
deal.
But that was really Romeo and Juliet-y.
And it was, well, I mean, they just straight up did it, and it felt like they were, like, the language felt current.
No, it kind of more felt like they were driving spikes into my eyeballs.
Well, it's a good thing we didn't pick that one then.
I wouldn't have allowed it.
I will say that because of where he went and because of where he started, it is crazy to me how wonderful Heath Ledger is in this movie. Like, Heath Ledger is good in almost everything he's in, but like, the cast in this is so good, and he is so endearing. That scene where he sings in the football stadium, and just about every scene, he feels very present, and he's got great chemistry. So, I mean, there's that aspect too. Like, I really do like the characters in the film. It is much more fun than Perks, but that's the majority of them that were the thing in the 90s.
And a lot of high school experiences were like that. I mean, I didn't go to a rich high school in San Francisco, but yeah, it was a lot of times it was just like goofing off, arguing with your friends, and figuring out dances and stuff. But yeah, he did really well. I really enjoyed his acting.
I can't believe that maybe 10 Things I Hate About You is the more realistic. No, I'm kidding. Maybe
there's two sides to every coin.
That band on the rooftop at the end of the movie really sold the realistic.
I know you weren't around, but like, that was every school. We had a band playing as we left, and sporadically throughout the day, every day in the 90s.
A female-led alt-rock band on the roof every single day as we were leaving. It was a big deal.
God for life.
To be fair, that's basically Wexford. So
you know what? You're not entirely incorrect.
Well, what about you three? Riley, JT, Daniel, what did you think of 10 Things I Hate About You?
I actually really, really liked this movie, and for vastly different reasons than Perks. But I really liked this movie just because of how much fun I had watching it. Like, I really like Perks because of like how I can like relate to the characters or experiences, or how like I can have like really good conversations. But this one, it's just like a ton of fun to watch. And like, I didn't even realize until I like checked my phone and I saw my reflection in the screen how much I was smiling during that one paintball scene. Like, it was just so much fun. And like, you were right, Heath Ledger is just incredible in this movie. And like, I don't know, it was just so much fun, even though it was kind of like, I think, was it Daniel who mentioned, or maybe Kat, that it is kind of this like, you know, nerdy girl takes off her glasses type thing, but it's still a lot of fun to watch, even without like a lot of times those movies for me, I don't really enjoy just because I'm like, you know, like it's the same plot line. But like this one, I had like a lot of fun watching. So, yeah.
I still think that She's Without is one of the most romantic teen movie lines of like that on film. I love that when they're in the car and he's like, "She's without." I'm like, yes. Anyway, good line. I don't know why I said that there, but when you said that, it made me think of it.
I also cannot remember what this scene is you're talking about.
When he's dropping off when Heath Ledger is dropping off the older sister, and he's talking about her younger sister. And he's talking about how great she is, and the sister's like, "Oh, my sister, everybody loves her. She's so perky and all this." And he goes, "She's without," like talking about like, because there's something in her that he sees. I'm like, it's a good line. Anyway,
did you ever try it?
6 times. No, I'm kidding. Let's not talk
He
about.
just goes around telling people they are without.
You're without.
You're without.
You're without. You're without. Daniel, JT, what about you guys?
No, I really liked it. They had good charisma, and then the movie itself. I said it. It's the most '90s movie ever, but obviously it had to start somewhere. The stereotype. I think it's cool seeing, and I assume this was probably one of the first movies that did the classic girl takes off her glasses and she was hot the whole time and you were the blind one the whole time, like that classic trope. um it is cheesy knowing that now, like seeing other movies like copy it, but like the original I think stands for itself, and I can see why they copied it because it works. No, it's fun. It was a good fun movie. um I don't know why, but both these characters, the main characters of both these movies, I didn't like. I thought they were like weasels or like unethical or like just tools. But the other characters were pretty good. Um, Heath Ledger is really the standout of this film, I think. Um, yeah, it's just good. It's a good, fun movie. Good coming of age, classic movie.
I think it shows that until JT right there said I didn't like the main character in this movie, it clicked for me that Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger were not, in fact, the main character of this movie. I had completely forgotten that there was that little kid. I
mean, that's what I think. It's what's his face? Robin?
JGL. Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, he was the main character, and well, it felt like he was a side character after the first 15 minutes, and then it especially like his charisma and like what he was doing. And then, oh man, he's so bad. It reminds me of that Encino Man, where like the guy just wants the girl so bad, and he's just willing to do anything to get the girl. And I'm like, this guy's the worst. I want to punch him.
Well, what did that say about his inner monologue and how he felt about himself?
He's a simp, and I think he wants the love of any hot girl he can get his hands on. And then he's such a spoiled, entitled brat that when she didn't want him and she was just being nice, he yelled at her and said, "You're the problem, not me." And I think he's what's wrong with America.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt or the character?
Just like entitled kids, entitled boomers, like him. Just want everything.
Yeah, Steve, you boomers.
Boomer.
No, I hated that. I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you think you deserve her love so bad? Because you helped her with homework? And then you help, I don't know.
Which he didn't understand.
Yeah, he had to learn it.
He faked learning French.
What a weasel. A sociopath. I don't know. He sucks.
I'm thinking that I should move on to the young people's team and JT should move on to the old curmudgeonly team.
Why?
It's true though, right? Like, and that's a lot of the problem with romance and teen romance movies, that girls feel like they need to owe people stuff that are being nice to them, or the whole, well, I pulled your hair because I liked you, like that kind of stuff. It was very much, it still can be like that. It's true.
Yeah. And then she dated him out of pity.
She liked him by the end.
The end. Or was that just Stockholm Syndrome?
Oh my gosh. This is taking a turn. It's worth noting that the film doesn't, I think you're right. The film starts with him. It doesn't end with him.
No.
It ends with Ledger and Julia Stiles. They're the final relationship piece.
They're why the movie is titled 10 Things I Hate About You, right? She reads the poem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt does not do any of that.
He's not even the one to pay
I know.
at all. He
Trick-
gets someone else to do that.
It's the rich kid to pay.
So if we're taking anything from this movie, it's that Joseph Gordon-Levitt, one of my TV crushes, is now canceled.
Yes.
AGL, please don't be offended if you're.
Just kidding.
Yes, because as you do, surfing the web for screenfish.
Screen
Man.
fiction. You never know. If he responded to this, I think I would fall over dead. So I'm glad that he doesn't look for stuff like this.
If you're listening to this, Joseph, I was joking the whole time.
And I live at 40. No, just
Yeah, right. Right. Well, Daniel, what about you?
I really enjoyed this movie as well. I think I mean I definitely agree that Cameron was really scummy. But to be fair, this might be an unpopular opinion. Like so was Patrick, because he was taking the money to date her.
He bought a guitar.
Okay. And
He didn't know he was going to fall in love. He was just being entrepreneurial.
okay.
It's like OnlyFans.
Oh my god.
I take it all back now. If it's like OnlyFans, then perfect. No, I don't know. I mean, like the whole thing started like, I'll give you like $30 to like take her on a date. Like he did it, and like he may not have like known that she's gonna like fall in love with him, but like a date is like I don't know. It's just kind of scummy that you did it just for money. Even if by the middle, close to the end of the movie, like he was like falling for her and then just getting the money as like a reward in a sense. Like it's I don't know. I just felt like it was kind of scummy, and Cameron was scummy for setting the whole thing up. I think like the only kind of like good character was Kat, I guess. I think it was
Julia Stiles.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because even like the younger sister was so bratty. Like I hated how she was always like blaming her older sister for when she couldn't go out. Like I would be the older sister. I don't want to go out to a party. Like what? There's another one.
She's switching.
Like I don't want to have to go to a party. Like I don't want to go out. Get like touched and like touch other people. And then with the younger sister being like, "You're the reason why I'm never allowed to do anything." Like, no, leave me alone. So like the younger sister was really bratty, and then both of the main like guys were really scummy. So like I feel like the only good character who honestly was like really true to themselves was Kat. Like
true.
She got played. She was just trying to like do her own thing, but was kind of being forced to do things that she wasn't really comfortable with. So and in the end, like I guess in the end it worked out for everybody. Like the guys got the girls, and Kat was able to go to the school that she wanted to across the country. Like and the younger sisters allowed to date or whatever. So like, they all kind of got what they wanted in the end, but I don't know. They were all kind of like bad people except for Kat. And then like everybody else at the school, like they were just kind of there. Like even the popular guy who was paying for everything, like I didn't care what was happening with him. Cameron's best friend, like I didn't really care what was happening with him. I think his little storyline with like the other girl who was like obsessed with Shakespeare, like I think that was funny, and definitely tying into
cute.
Being a Shakespeare based off of Shakespeare, like that was cute. But I feel like it would have been nice if they talked a bit more about that. Like I feel like it was very like, oh, let's give him a sideline. Oh, this girl loves Shakespeare, let's make him date her. So like everybody else is kind of everybody else in the film, I was like, I don't really care about you. It's mainly like these four people, which in my eyes, like I wouldn't really say Cameron was the main character. Like, I'd say it was more of like an ensemble cast.
Like a play?
Okay. Except plays normally have leads and main characters. This was like an episode of Glee without the singing. No. But no, like I feel like it was more of like an ensemble cast where most of the ensemble like weren't good people. But overall, like the movie was fun. I really enjoyed it. It's very different from Perks of Being a Wallflower. But I do kind of like that we had that, you know, one teen film that's more fun and, you know, bright and, you know, bleh, and then one that was more sad and meh, you know. So I like the contrast between the two movies, and I think this was a fun one. The acting was good. The actors were all really good as well. You know, can't hate on the cast. I'm gonna be honest. This is the only movie that I've seen with Heath Ledger. I haven't seen the Batman ones that he was in, so I didn't.
Kids today, man.
Okay. So like I didn't really get the hype. He also looked like he was like 35 years old attending high school.
19. He was 19.
I had to look it up that he was 19.
An old man. But no, like he was really good. I didn't realize that he was like Australian or from New Zealand, so that's pretty cool. And then Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think I've seen him in other things. Was he Matrix?
No. He done a lot of Inception.
Okay. Oh, that
And Looper.
Looper, Inception, 50-50.
Inception is what I've seen him in. But yeah, so like, you know, I haven't watched a lot of things that he was in, but you know, he was good in this one. Julia Stiles, she was good. I don't know what else. I've definitely seen her in other things. I don't know what else it's been. And then the younger sister, honestly, I had no idea who she was. Still don't. Can't remember what she looks like, what her name is. But yeah, I really liked it. I would definitely watch it again. It was really fun. I will say, like, I don't know if I would really call it 10 Things I Hate About You, because I kind of expected there to be like a list. And like, I didn't know that was a poem or whatever, but that could have just been me. But yeah, it was good. I liked it.
She was in a lot of the Bourne Identity movies, but the one that I knew her from was Save the Last Dance.
I think that was right after this. Actually.
Yeah, 10 Things I Hate About You was her first movie. And then in 2001, she did Save the Last Dance. Oh, and then she did The Prince and Me.
Yeah. Yeah, she hasn't done a lot lately, I don't
We're the same age.
Oh, really?
Actually, I'm slightly older than she is because she's 81 and I'm 80.
That's the year you were born, right?
No. Age.
Touche.
I am 1,980 years old. Yeah, she was born March 28th, 81.
I found it kind of funny. I found it kind of funny when I was watching it that they painted Julia Stiles to be like this like terrible person, and then she was just a feminist. Which I
in the 90s that was a terrible person.
Well, yeah, but I found it kind of funny because now it wouldn't be painted like that, right? Like if someone were to be painted as like this antisocial, like, well, I mean, bitchy kind of character, it would be that she was being like actually like mean to other people. Like there was like she wasn't just like an activist type thing. Which I find kind of interesting and sort of see, like, I think that is kind of like a difference between the sort of 90s movies to what sort of I'm used to now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I will say there's two things because I don't think the film portrays her as that. I think her friends portray her as that. Because the film portrays her as being the most grounded of any character. I would say, because the film loves her for her activism. I would say the film is not against her. I would say that overall, the world of the film is very much like what you're saying there, because in general, those other people have different sets of values than you see in something like Perks, where everybody's got some value or issue that matters to them and sort of drives their character. For these characters, for the most part, that doesn't exist. But I would say the film doesn't judge her for it at all.
No. And when I said, I think I used the wrong language, but when I said like they portray her, I was more talking about like how, like, you don't meet her at first, right? You just sort of hear about her.
Yes.
And that's, I guess that's sort of what I meant by when I said portrayed, like that's sort of how she's viewed by the people in the movie.
Yeah.
So she's feminist, so.
I didn't remember that she was in Hustlers.
Was she? Julia Stiles? Oh, she was. Yeah, you're right.
The reporter. She's the only one who's not working in the industry.
You're right. You're right. She is in it, though.
Which was a terrible movie. Not because of the content, but because of the fact that it was just a terrible storyline. And I don't like anything Jennifer Lopez does, but that's a side issue. Jennifer Lopez, if you're listening.
Be careful, she's still Jenny from the block.
She is.
I'm Kat from Scarborough. But I have less access to murderers than she does, I'm sure. She's in Hollywood. She could hire someone. I can't afford to hire someone to fight Jennifer Lopez.
Throw that in our new series, Cat Out of Context.
Cat out of the bag.
Oh!
That's it. We'll just throw it up on TikTok. It's just Kat saying these things like, J-Lo has access to more murderers than I do. Well, this has been fun. Let's throw them head to head. Let's do our votes. Perks of Being a Wallflower versus 10 Things I Hate About You. What are you picking?
I personally, and not for a dumb reason like one isn't a teen movie, but just because of like what I was saying before, how I prefer the ones like I prefer the ones that are teens dealing with the crappiness of the world. I'm gonna go with Perks, but I will say that I really, really enjoyed 10 Things I Hate About You, and definitely will be watching it again.
Okay, sounds good. Who else?
I pick whatever movie was not Pursuit of Happiness. Just kidding.
It's a tie. No.
It's actually difficult now to decide, because now that we've discussed them and we're not just like coming in fresh, I see the value of both of them. But I'll say, like, if I was like wanting like a fun rainy afternoon hangout movie, I would suggest 10 Things I Hate About You. And if you want a movie that opens up kind of like more discussion into the struggles that teens are going through right now, then I would pick Perks.
That's awesome, but you can't pick both.
Jason did.
No, Jason picked neither.
Neither.
No.
What? Why does Jason not get this kind of flack? You know what? Just because I hadn't seen it before, and it was something I was really looking forward to and kind of like lived up to the hype I thought it would be, I'm going to go with Perks. But I really feel like it was a definite like neck and neck.
I agree.
All right, JT.
I'll wait till you guys pick.
Oh my gosh.
Daniel.
I'm gonna be honest. Before we started like recording, I was like, I honestly feel like I want to say both because I had a really good time with both of the movies. I think with them being on such different levels of teen movie, on such different sides, it's hard to really compare them in that sense. And then we started talking about them, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, maybe Perks was better. But by that, now at the end, I'm kind of like back to in the middle where I'm like, I really don't know what I feel is.
Well, you have to choose.
I know. Well, I'm going to. If you would give me a second, please, I'll call JLo and have.
No, I need to save money.
Well, you.
Just sick Mo on her.
Mo's like dying in his bed. He'll annoy her with meows until she goes away.
Yeah. By the end, I was kind of like, dang, like I'm really in between them. Like, Perks is a much more realistic, sad teen movie. 10 Things is, I mean, it's based on a Shakespeare story, so it's not that realistic, but they do a good job at grounding it and making it as realistic as possible and fun and interesting. So it's very hard to choose between both of them because I definitely will be watching both of them in the future, and I have nothing like against any of them. But if I have to choose one, I think the one that to me better represents a teen movie, I'd go with Perks. But honestly, it's so close to it being a tie. It's hard, but I'd give it to Perks by like literally half a point.
Me too.
Okay.
I'm intrigued at how close this is. I don't mean the votes. I just mean of how you guys are going, because I that actually makes me happy, because the whole point of Movies You Missed, I mean, is not just to say that our movies are the better. I think this all started because we had stories we wanted to show you, and the fact that you're enjoying them, I think, is great. I'm not gonna lie. I was withholding my vote because I wanted to see how it was going, but since we've already lost, I'm because it's already 3-0. No, I actually probably would have said Perks, but it also isn't the one I would watch again first. I do think the teen genre, as I said, is a really fascinating thing to look at how it's changed over the years, because every single generation has its own unique voice. Like, for example, Riley's favorite film is Paper Towns. I know that he absolutely adores
You
it.
know me so
He
well.
won't stop talking about how much it's better than the book.
I know he loves it. Loves Paper Towns. But no, in all seriousness, I see like the teen genre is one of the most interesting when you look at what connects. And I love 10 Things I Hate About You. I just have so much fun every time I watch it. I think it's so charming and so well executed. But I think Perks is a film that is just frankly very well made. So I will give it to it, mainly because I think that it really is an interesting film. But
You're not just following the crowd?
Yeah, I'm following the crowd. No, I was going to say that, but if it was going to look like a tie, I was going to switch it back just for.
Wow.
I admit it. I'm corrupt. No.
Steve is corrupt.
I'm corrupt when it comes to my movies voting.
He still hates you all for not saying
it's all
Truman Show was.
I still hold a grudge on Truman. JT, what do you got? You can say whatever you want now because it's 4-0. So what are you thinking?
I don't know. They're both very different. The contrast between them. Overall, I think I liked. It doesn't really matter, but
no,
I guess,
it does.
No, it's so close too. I would say 10 Things, but then I guess I was feeling more a comedy in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
A coming of age story. And then we just came off like drama as well. But they're both good, but I guess I would say 10 Things.
I like it. I'm switching back
It's
to
very
10.
close.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think it is, and I think the fact that they're different actually makes it closer because we enjoyed them both for different reasons. So, well, there it is. There it is. We have our vote 4-1 in favor of Perks of Being a Wallflower over 10 Things I Hate About You. Next week is potentially our last week, and it is miscellaneous. All bets are off. It is just film versus film, and the three of you need to agree, and Kat and I have already agreed, and we are looking forward to that. I believe if we're looking at scores, it is 3-2 for the younger generation with a tie. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
We've seen 6 movies?
We have.
Okay. Make it a tie,
generation-
people.
Younger generation took The Conjuring.
Yep.
Perks,
Over Gremlins, shocking.
yeah. Perks and Pursuit of Happiness.
No.
Versus, yeah, they did take it.
Did we take Pursuit of Happiness?
Because they voted Truman. They said that Truman Show was not a drama. That's why.
Oh, right.
And then Independence
Which I would fully
Day
agree
and The
with.
Fugitive. Sorry. And then Independence Day and The Fugitive. So miscellaneous is next week.
JT, I don't want to hear that you didn't help pick this next movie.
What is our next movie?
You haven't announced it.
Did we not decide? I thought we had this one.
I don't remember. Hey, Daniel, why don't you tell us, before we sign off, why don't you tell us what's going on with Teen Fish?
Okay. We, once a month, go down to the harbor and find fish that are in their adolescent stage and eat them. Sponsored by Jennifer Lawrence's Hitmen.
Wait, Jennifer Lawrence.
Wait.
Jennifer Lopez.
Well, Jennifer Lawrence hates cat too.
What? I love Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, I guess I should call off that SWAT team.
Have you done anything for Teen Fish besides eating them?
Just put an episode on the air.
A week ago.
What movie was it? Do a pitch. This is how you get listeners. You cross promote.
I already get more listeners than this. No, actually, I don't know. Sure. So we have Teen Fish, which is our. I host a podcast each month where I have some teens and young adults come on, and we talk.
I was there once.
Yeah,
only once though.
Where we talk about a movie and, basically we let teens and young adults be able to really voice their opinion and their viewpoints on different films that a lot of adults really, have a lot of the say in. It's been a lot of fun, and each episode goes up on the last Tuesday of every month, Teen Fish Tuesday. Our most recent episode, I guess I shouldn't say that because I don't know when this is really going up, but so stay tuned, look out for the Teen Fish episodes, listen to them, and enjoy.
Speaking of Teen Fish Tuesdays, do you guys know KFC is coming back with Toonie Tuesdays and you can get the sandwich?
I thought you were going to say KFC was going to start doing fish, and I was going to Logan Lerman's best friend in the movie right now.
Yeah, Toonie Tuesdays are back at KFC. For $2, you can get a chicken sandwich like we used to back in the 90s.
With that in mind, we'll see you next week as we continue on and potentially wrap up movies you missed. This has been so much fun. I've been absolutely loving doing this. Thank you all again for being on. And a reminder, thank you all for listening as well. And a reminder, it doesn't matter if you missed the movies. What matters is which ones matter to you.